Hello, hello everyone. We have missed you guys. Seems like it's been forever since we've talked to you. So much has happened since we've been here. Tax deadline. JJ got a relaxing weekend. How is everyone doing? Hope that you are all having a relaxing, or that you had a relaxing weekend as well. I see that Card Shop Reality said that he will be back at 6. And Mary's here. So glad to have you here, Mary. And with Flying Colors. And Charlotte. Aw, hi, Tony. And Jean McIntyre. Yes, I bet you guys are having JJ withdrawals. He's having withdrawals from you guys too. Hi, John Jasper. What's up? How is everyone? 47 people already, 51. You guys are so awesome. We have missed you. It has been busy and crazy last week. JJ got to really relax this weekend. It was awesome. Hi, Abram and MC Big Swig and Valerie Clark. We missed you. Hey, Greg, Roll Tide, and John Jasper. It was a relaxing party weekend, yes. Roll Tide, that's right. And Pedal Spins here. Hi, Miss Cindy. We missed you. Yeah, tax season was crazy. JJ keeps saying that it's like it's just April. It's what he's feeling like. But it's not, sadly. It's almost August. Hi, Patty. Hi, Carol. Hope everyone is doing well. Thank you guys for coming on to join us. And especially with the new time, I hope that it worked out well for you. 4 o'clock is just not going to work for us, so that's why we moved it. Hi, Rob. Hope you are doing well. We have missed you guys terribly. You were worried sick about us? Well, JJ was just taking some much needed time off. Hi, Mary. Well, I'm glad that you like the new time. Glenda. Hi, Leah. Oh, Leah, and you were in the pool. Nice. And Rodney and Will, thank you so much, Will. I appreciate that. All right, are you guys ready to see who you've been here, who you have had withdrawals from? Because he's ready to see you guys, because he has missed you as well. So, the one and the only, JJ, the CPA.
Oh, you're so sweet. How is everybody? Oh my gosh, it's good to see everybody. I was hearing everybody that's on, and thank you for being here. Cindy, hey Cindy, you need to send me your stuff. Hopefully you got that email address where to send it. Card Shop Reality, hope you're here. Mary, good to see you with Flying Colors. Glenda and Charlotte, we're going to talk about something new that I've put out there. We haven't even had time to talk about it publicly, but Charlotte found it. Charlotte is our first one. We've got a couple others that we are considering, but nonetheless, we'll get back to that. Tony, how are you? And Jean, good to see you. John Jasper and Abraham, MC Big Swig, Valerie Clark, how are you? Greg, and let's see, Roll Tide, I heard you say that as well. We got Patty B with us, and Carol. Great to see you. Rob, good to see you. Thank you for the email over the weekend, giving me a nice summary of the hearings that the Secretary of the Treasury was on. So I appreciate that and some of the heads up. And we've got Kim. Let's see, Canna Startup. And we've got Rodney and Mary Cooper. How are you? And then, so Glenda is in the pool with Leah. Yes. I think that the last video that we put up has Leah at the very end of it talking about if your house is on fire. And I think that one is Save Your Biz 1, 2, 3. And so at the end of that, you'll have to check it out. It's adorable. We'll probably incorporate it into a few other videos. Okay, so got a self-employed collecting PUA. So here's the deal. We got through the July 15th deadline we were set to go live on Friday, and I fell asleep, and Amanda took mercy on me and made an executive decision that we pushed it, and we thought, well, maybe we'll go Sunday, and I was just a puddle yesterday. But anyway, so tonight you are catching us. This is our second house, our second home, and we just finished up some dinner. I had a very kind of leisurely day, tying off some loose ends. Tomorrow, Cooper, my son, is pitching in the Oklahoma games. It's basically the all-star games for baseball, so I'm excited for that. He'll be pitching in the morning up in Enid, which is a small town about an hour north of here. He's also going to be playing in a baseball tournament in Joplin, so I'll be coming live here Friday from Joplin, Missouri for his tournament. We're pretty excited about that, and I think he will announce where he's going to commit for college. We are very excited about that and the opportunities he's been given and the scholarships that he's been offered. And he's going to play one more tournament, and I think that'll be the last for the summer. So big news. I'll be traveling with him. Very excited. Amanda will come and see him pitch as well for, I guess, the last time, at least for the summer. They might have a fall league. With Flying Colors, yes, Amanda put this all together. We got this second house, when was it? A month ago? Yeah, end of June. Yes, Carol, I did survive, and Charlotte, and let's see, Sisterin, thank you. I really appreciate that. Thanks to everybody. I was reading a comment, or Amanda was reading a comment to me on what you all had said, or somebody had said in terms of not watching any other channels, getting good factual information. So I really appreciate that. I did shoot a video yesterday from the pool while I was smoking a cigar, and I had on my sun hat, which is kind of a Gilligan's Island type, full around brim bucket hat. And anyways, I decided, you know what, I'll do a briefing and get that up maybe tomorrow. So anyways, did not post that one. That'll be one maybe we can pull snippets from. But I will tell you this, there's not a lot of activity going right now. I think it's a little bit of the calm before the storm of the next set of probably a different kind of PPP. I don't know that there'll be anything additional for the EIDL. I think the grants have run its course, but August 8th is when the traditional PPP extension ends, and we know right now there's a number of different discussions going on what would be the relief to be giving out. Some of the forgiveness talks are underway as it relates to the Treasury Secretary as well as the director of the SBA on what they were testifying, so to speak, before Congress last week. Again, thanks, Rob, for giving me kind of the highlights of that. So when we get back from the next recess of Congress, which I don't think has happened yet. I know that everybody was celebrating the life of John Lewis today in Congress, rightfully so, but I don't know if people in Congress were officially back or just coming to commemorate and pay their respects and to honor John Lewis recently passing away. Nonetheless, I know that there is talk amongst the Senate and the House as well as the White House. The White House is indicating that they will not sign off anything unless it includes a payroll tax cut. What that would be really is a reduction of the payroll tax that's being withheld and a reduction of the payroll tax that's being matched. It's kind of a backdoor way to help small businesses. The problem with that is that if you don't have a job, that doesn't help you. If you're a small business and you can't afford wages, that doesn't help you. So it's not a political statement. It's more to say, I don't know that a payroll tax cut really will yield much benefit. Therefore, I don't know that it'll finally or make the final cut of the relief that's going to come into play. What I think is a reality as it relates to the Paycheck Protection Program, and honestly, I hope that whatever the next round of funding there is, it will be called something different so that we know how to differentiate it from all the set of rules that we're dealing with now. I think what's reality is that it'll be potentially to specific industries. However, the Secretary of the Treasury indicated that he didn't think that that would be how it went. But of course, that'll be somewhat up to Congress. But I do think there's going to be maybe a little bit more help going towards, I want to say, the restaurant industry, the hospitality industry that's getting hit the hardest. Also those that are in Cindy's industry, pedal spin studio, so gyms, those that are hairstylists or nail techs or salons where there is personal interaction, so to speak, or activities that are causing the government to want to shut those businesses down, either completely or massively reduce down their ability to make money. So I think that those would be the first targeted industries if someone was analyzing who's getting hit the hardest and who will continue to be hit the hardest. As it relates to the next round of PPP funding, I think it's obvious. I mean, we're still at 130 billion. They keep throwing that number around as in it doesn't seem that that 130 billion has gone down. But I think with that 130 billion, it'll go a lot further because I also think they'll put a cap on it. I'm going to probably think about 150,000. That seems to be thrown around in a lot of different circles of discussions, that it would be assistance up to 150,000. I believe it'll be for the small employer, 100 employees or less. The reason I'm thinking the 100 employees or less is that the employee retention credit is for those that have 100 or less employees, and there seemed to be a lot of rhyme or reason behind that. I also think it'll be something that's similar to the employee retention credit in determining if you get the aid, which is a determining factor of whether or not you get the employee retention credit, which is a decline in revenue. So I think there will be a specific time that's chosen that if your revenue is less than that same time period last year, then that would be a test that has to be overcome to get the aid. So this is a speculation. However, I think that what that leads to is making sure that you have your numbers in order, your financials in order, knowing what your financials are month by month. So in Oklahoma, they recently did a grant for those businesses that had a reduction in their gross sales. And it was for March, April, and May of this year, and they compared it to 3 different periods. Well, for my clients, we were able to pull those numbers very quickly. It was an monthly average of 2019. It was a monthly average of May through June of last year, a monthly average of January and February of this year. Point is that I think that if you are trying to get ahead of the game, so I'll have some videos on this, to get yourself maybe in a position where you would know if you're gonna potentially qualify for the next round of funding, or at least have your information ready to go, then I think we need to ensure that you have good financials in place so that when this comes about, and it'll happen quickly, I think, you'll be prepared. So anyways, let's see, we've got...
Just to say
yeah.
something real quick,
Yeah.
Cindy from Pedal Spin Studio just said another major studio just announced its permanent closure here in California. Grit Cycle has 7 locations. It's John Wayne's granddaughter
Oh my
that
gosh.
owned it. Isn't that awful?
Wow. So if you aren't aware of this, I am helping businesses 4 of them across the nation for free. One of them is Pedal Spin Studio. It's a part of our reality show, and what we're wanting to help businesses with is just this. So successful businesses, also helping Imagine That Toys, Rob and Gwen, and Al and Paula, but they're a toy store out of Wichita. But anyways, they're both on with us today. I know in California, they're, especially in the LA area, are talking about a shutdown as in what we were experiencing in March. In California, they have they have ordered for the gyms and barbers and hairstylists and salons, nail techs, I believe is included in that, to close. So we're in real circumstances different from what we were even experiencing in March. And the reason I'm saying that is that most small businesses by now received aid and used it, maybe received the loan and is probably near using it, especially for those that were able to get that help in April. And then what comes next? Well, it's just depleting operating funds. Maybe there was a little bit of revenue that came in that helped just get caught up on bills. But as we go into August, I think this will be a period of time where we really want to be mindful of our numbers, really want to be mindful of what we have to pay, not have to pay, to start making some tough decisions before they even are made or required, and knowing how to get ahead of it. So anyways, I'll be working with Cindy on that. And then I did want to mention, if you go to jjthecpa.com, that's the website where that is just about me. It's different from the community service website I created. The community service website I created is jjthecpahelp.com. But at jjthecpa.com, we released it, I guess it was last Monday. Is that right, Amanda?
Yeah.
So last Monday, we now have where if you need some one-on-one consultation with me, if you find my expertise something where you think you could gain some help from that, you can go to jjthecpa.com and schedule a call with me. You can also schedule a Zoom with me. Now, these aren't free. The rates that I'm providing are the same ones that I charge to clients. And then this allows me to work with some clients at least for a one-on-one engagement or a one and done, because I'm not taking on new clients for tax prep. Also, I have a hire JJ the CPA for 12 weeks, so to speak, and I'm going to limit this to 10 businesses. We do want those that are interested in this to just fill out a questionnaire, and the only reason for that is I want to make sure that I have the expertise for the business or you that's going to be potentially a part of this group. So Charlotte, who's on with us, is a part of that. I'm going to be working with her and 9 other businesses. Basically what we'll be doing in the beginning is doing some one-on-one and looking at your structure and getting the concerns, getting some of the basics out of the way on a one-on-one. And then for 12 weeks, there will be an hour-and-a-half Zoom meeting, but collectively it'll be one Zoom meeting with these 10 businesses with a very structured plan in play. And the purpose of the 12 weeks is these are the things that I do with my clients over a year. So this would be the interactions I have with clients over a 12-month period, especially with new clients, that I'll be then doing this over 12 weeks. So for those that are interested, and when I say interested, I don't mean interested in these 12 weeks. I'm talking about interested in taking potentially the understanding of your numbers to the next level. Are you interested in your numbers? That is what we're going to be looking at. And I feel like it's going to be pretty powerful. Again, this is what I've been doing with my clients for 27 years. So jjthecpa.com. I just look at it as, what is it, once a week I've carved out basically a half a day for phone calls, another part of the week for the 45-minute Zooms, and then once a week I'll do the 10 on 1 or 1 on 10. So anyways, if you're interested in that, check out jjthecpa.com. We'll be doing some promotions on that. If it's not a fit for you, but you're one of the wonderful people that always is here to support me, I'm not at all expecting you to be a part of that, but you might let other people know. And the reason I'm just saying, we're going to have a minor push, but I think I've already booked up for 1 week and we really didn't even tell anybody. We have had 3 businesses apply. We turned down 2 of them because I didn't really feel like what they were looking for was what this 12 weeks is all about. So with that being said, do we have any questions that have been put into the comments? And let's jump into those now.
All right, John Jasper.
John, what's up?
Can a sole member's S Corp officer employee with no other employees qualify for payroll retention credit?
If they have not taken PPP, you know what? I read something recently that made me question whether or not the employee retention credit could be taken by the shareholder. And for whatever reason, what's sticking in my head is that you cannot. But what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, John, will you just send me a quick email and just put ERC in there? I am going to be doing a video coming up just about the tax credits, because the tax credits that came out on the Families First Coronavirus Tax Relief Act is still available. And now that we're going into closings, these are tax credits that very well will come back into play. For those that got PPP, they're not able to take the ERC, but I am going to be talking about the employee retention credit. So John, I would say yes, but something's sticking into my head. Carol, I don't know. Carol's usually good at answering technical comments when we put videos out there if I can't get to them quick enough. But I want to say that there's something that I was surprised to read that limited who could get that employee retention credit as in terms of the employee owners. So anyway, send me an email, would you, jj@jjthecpahelp.com. I will look into that right away, and then I'll include it in the next one. Let's see. No, Carol says, I'm a grandparent now. My brain has switched. But thank you for the question, John.
MC Big Swig. You know we're all hanging on the edge on what government is going to do about the PUA supplement expiring this week. Self-employed music entertainer. I have no work. What are your predictions?
So, hey, a couple of things, just for fun. I have a playlist that's called The Music Biz, and I bet you'd get a kick out of some of the videos that I put together. They're videos that I did last year, but I looked at behind the scenes, well, not behind the scenes, kind of behind the local music scene as it relates to the financial side of it and how hard everyone works in the local music scene. So anyways, I did a number of videos interviewing musicians that I know. But nonetheless, my understanding with the PUA is that yes, it's expiring, but what's expiring is the ability to qualify for it. And what I mean by initially qualify for it. So PUA is available for up to 39 weeks. It's available 13 weeks longer than what the state does provide. And as you know, PUA typically, or I should say unemployment benefits typically would not be available to those that are self-employed, to the gig workers. In most states, that's never occurred. So the PUA came into play and allowed the self-employed, and this term gig worker that came into play, I think, with all of these benefits. But here's what I'm saying, is my understanding is that if you qualified and you continue to qualify, even though it's expiring, so to speak, you will still continue to get PUA. Again, what's expiring is somebody to be able to apply for it and then initially start getting it. So if somebody has not been out of work and then August, mid-August, they're out of work, they're not going to be able to apply for the PUA. But for those that were on PUA already, that will continue. So again, the PUA is supposed to last 39 weeks. That's how I know that the benefit is not going to expire for those that are on it. Now, hopefully the states are going to understand and see it that way, because when this first came out, it was supposed to really just be something administered by the IRS, but then it got passed along and each of the states have had to play some very fast catch up on how people qualify for it and how to disperse those funds. So I will tell you this, if you are finding that it is running out for you, for whatever purpose in your state, not that I have any power or influence, I should say, but send me an email, jj@jjthecpa.com. In the regarding line, put musician. And the only reason I would like to know that is that I'd like to know what state you're in. I'd like to be able to review that and see what's going on there. So someone asked real quick, the $600, what I'm talking about there is if you're already qualifying for it and you're already receiving it. My understanding is that doesn't expire here at the end of July. What's going to expire is the ability to apply for it. So if you're already receiving it, my understanding is as long as you continue to qualify for it, you'll get it up to 39 weeks. It would be expiring for somebody that has not been receiving the $600, the pandemic unemployment insurance. Somebody call it a bonus. It's pandemic unemployment assistance that is from the federal government in addition to the state unemployment. The last thing I'll note on that is that even if you stop qualifying for state unemployment, the PUA is still there to pay out as long as you're meeting the requirements to receive PUA. But if you're receiving it now, okay, it's not going away at the end of the month unless you start working again and you don't meet the qualifications. All right, what else we got?
This is from Abubakar. Does a payroll tax include the self-employed? Does a payroll tax cut include the self-employed?
Yeah, good question on that. It would not. The self-employed pay self-employment tax. However, with the Families First Coronavirus Tax Relief Act, in there is tax credits that apply to the self-employed. So I've got a video coming out where I'm going to walk through that. I'll talk through it with the self-employed, and those tax credits are related to both the sick leave as well as the Family Medical Leave Act, the way it was expanded. And it's a reduction of the self-employment taxes to the extent of the dollars that qualify for that. So be sure you're subscribed. I didn't recall who answered that question, but anyways, be sure that you're subscribed and look for that video to come. It'll be called, tax credits, not to forget about them. So anyways, take a look at that. But the payroll tax cut that I would project would be coming about, I don't think would apply to the self-employed. However, the last set of tax credits did. So who knows? We will wait and see.
Valerie Clark. Another self-employed friend told me to change to an LLC to reduce taxes. What do you think?
So you should be an LLC no matter what. So most states, the LLC is treated the same, limited liability company. And what that does is it separates the structure of the business from you personally. It creates a shell, in essence, that is the business. Now, the great thing about an LLC is that it can be taxed as anything up at the IRS level. So what your friend is mentioning is really only a first step If you're self-employed, they said they were self-employed. So if you're self-employed, the LLC is just your legal structure. It doesn't actually yield any tax benefit unto itself, and it's very common. People will say, even attorneys, oh, well, become an LLC, it'll save you taxes. It actually won't, because an LLC can be for the self-employed. It can be an S Corp, a C Corp, a partnership. So an LLC can be taxed as anything. Typically, in most circumstances, what you would want to be is an S corporation. And yes, be an LLC, but you're an LLC taxed as an S corporation. So I've got a couple of videos on it. The one that was most recent, I said on the thumbnail, it says avoid taxes. And it talks exactly about what you're asking about right there. So take a listen to that. We just released it, I think, on Friday, and it talks about being an S corporation. So even though you have an LLC, okay, that's just in essence the legal designation, and you would need to be an LLC or an Inc., but an LLC is the best way to go. But you would need to be an entity to then be an S Corp. So that's why I said the LLC is just part of the way there. LLC unto itself doesn't lead to any tax savings. It would be the tax classification of an S corporation. But there are a number of things to consider with that. So check out the video called Avoid Taxes. And I don't recall who it was, but hopefully you are subscribed.
That was Miss Valerie.
Oh.
I know that she is.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I want to give a quick shout out to Mr. Chris, who says that he is a new subscriber about
All right,
a month or
thank
so,
you.
and that your broadcast has helped me out more than once.
Thank you. I appreciate
And
that.
also wanted to just say real quick, we have 112 people, 113 people on, and only 36 thumbs up. So if you could please hit the thumbs up button. That just pushes the video up so more people will see JJ the CPA, and that we really appreciate you all being here, and that we hope that you are subscribed. All right, our next question is from Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
Daughter's a student at UNT. She was supposed to start a tutoring job, but couldn't due to COVID. Could she get PUA or FPUC in Texas?
Yeah, that just depends state by state. What I would say for sure is to go ahead and apply. One of the things that may come into play there, but it just depends on the state, is that if somebody hasn't had the opportunity to start that position, that's what could cause them not to qualify for the state unemployment benefits. That would be kind of the normal benefits put together in that state of Texas. But the PUA has a much wider spectrum of who can qualify for it. And I noticed somebody mentioned in a state that it was, I think maybe Virginia, that the PUA was a whopping $143. The one thing I would suggest is to go back and reapply if that's the amount that you're getting, because that sounds like the state level. Maybe your state's not interpreting things correctly, because here's the interesting thing about PUA, is that if you qualify for it, it's just $600, period. There's no, $10, $140. It's, you either qualify for it or you don't. And if you qualify for it, you get $600 a week, period. There's no two ways about that. That's how it's written. If your state is interpreting PUA as being partial, there's nothing I can do about it, but they're just dead wrong, because the PUA is a flat $600. There's no partial to the PUA. And in fact, it's become a little bit of an issue, because there are those that have been on unemployment and they're able to make more on unemployment than when they were working. Nothing wrong with that for those that are receiving it, but it caused some issues for employers that got PPP, because they got money to be able to pay their employees, but the employees were saying, hey, I want to stay on PUA because I'm making more. So I did see with Flying Colors has a question. We don't have to skip to it, but let's make sure we do not miss that question.
Patty B.
Patty B, what's going on?
PPP funds depleted with huge pad. largest credit union in Missouri won't accept forgiveness application yet. Do we really have to keep tracking all of these costs? No, we need FTE count at the end.
Yeah, so not unusual because the SBA, hey, you can come out, Nick. The SBA has not opened the portal, so that is why the bank is not taking the applications, is because they don't even have the ability to submit it. Now, I will say this, there are banks here in Oklahoma that are accepting applications, because the banks have to go through the applications and the documentation. They have to make an initial determination. So not to add to any frustrations there, more just to say that bank, I think, is just waiting till the SBA opens up their portal. Now, with that being said, though, my understanding is that when you hand in your application for forgiveness, that is when your requirements end. So I understand that your bank's not accepting them. I don't know if this will work or not, but what I would suggest to you as an opportunity to maybe make it work is to put together your application, which sounds like maybe you did. Awesome. And, basically certify it that here's the date, you're closing down the tracking, so to speak, you're signing it, you're submitting it, or you're, I'm just not sure how you would want to go about it, but here's how I would go about it, okay? I would be putting together the forgiveness application, dating it, putting everything in there, and then mailing it certified to the bank. Meaning that's how I would do it. Now, if the bank sends it back, okay, but at least I identified that I'm putting in my forgiveness application now, and I'm done, and here's all the information. In essence, it puts a backdrop on it. Let's see, too funny, we did a via email and asked to lock in the date, and they said no. Well, Patty, on that, boy, that's a bank that's, I don't know. For them collecting their 5%, they're making it a little harder on themselves. So Patty B, what I would suggest is still just hand in the forgiveness application. I would just include the information through the date that you've had it. Sign it and signify it, because for the bank's perspective, they don't need to see all of the information. What they are going to want to see is enough information to show the forgiveness amounts. Now, I know what you're talking about on the FTEs, but I would probably say this. Patty, are you handing in the EZ application or the regular application? Let's see what, and the reason I say that is, okay, so if it's the EZ, you're certifying in there that you don't have an FTE issue. So I would, even if for some reason they make you redate the EZ, I would just document that here was the date that you are done. Here is your information. You're going to have your documentation. If the bank were to come later and say, well, how are your FTEs? I would just simply state, I don't have any issues with the FTEs. That's why I've certified on the EZ. I think that if this really came down to it and the SBA was reviewing this with you, the fact that the bank was not taking the application, the fact that the portal was not open, doesn't change the fact that you completed your forgiveness application and you tried to submit it. I understand they didn't accept the date, or quote unquote let you lock in the date, and it's probably because your bank, with all due respect to the bank, doesn't know what the hell they're doing. I'm just going to be frank. Whoever received the email doesn't know about PPP. Have them call me. They don't, okay? Because this application date, according to the SBA of forgiveness, according to the SBA, according to Secretary of Treasury, you can hand it in at any time. The fact that they're not ready to take it is their problem. So anyways, I would just say this. Wouldn't worry about it. Whatever you've put together, as soon as they're accepting it, you just put that right back in. If I'm you, I would just leave it dated the way that you've got it, and then keep me posted on that.
Jessica, Will the EIDL advance come out of a PPP loan if it isn't used for payroll? Also, how is that not paying it back?
Yeah, I think it might have even been Carol and I that had some discussion about it, but yes, it's going to reduce down your forgiveness. There was a thought for a long time, me included. Many thought this, but the SBA made it clear in their most recent set of guidelines that no matter when you got the EIDG, the grant, it will reduce down your forgiveness. And so it's a technicality. You didn't pay back the grant, meaning you're not having to pay it back. But the fact that it is reducing down your PPP, you're right. In essence, you are paying it back, but just through the PPP side of things. And I thought because we were told, don't use it for payroll, and then you separated it from PPP. It was everywhere. It was written everywhere to use it for other things besides PPP, and it wouldn't have an effect on your PPP. Now, that was for grants that you got after April 3rd, so it seemed that there were two different kinds. Do we got Shane's coming in the door? So do you want to meet him at the door and just let him know what we're doing there? Okay, I'm going to find with Flying Colors question here. I wonder if there's a couple of them here. Let's see. Well, I saw it, and let's see. One, how long do I have to switch from a C Corp to an S Corp? If you miss the deadline, then what do you suggest? If a company wants to buy vans before COVID, are they able to do so with EIDL? Well, with Flying Colors, first of all, I hope, hopefully I'm going to remember this hopefully correctly. Is it with Flying Colors brother-in-law or brother?
Brother.
Okay. So anyways, I hope that your brother's doing better. We have thought about him a couple of times. So also with Flying Colors, at least on Instagram, announced that she's got a new business venture.
That's right.
That she's doing. And so what I would love is for all of you to check, is it with Flying Colors?
Yes.
With Flying Colors on Instagram. You'll be able to see that. I don't know with Flying Colors if you've got a website up yet.
Yes, she does.
She does.
Yep.
All right, so share your website here. There might be some that would love to support you. So how long do you have to become an S Corp if you're a C Corp? You can do it at any time, which is the good news there. You make the election with a Form 2553. For a timely election, that would be for March 15th, assuming that you're wanting it to be effective the first of the year. So let's just take, for instance, if you were electing to be an S Corp for 2021, you would have until March 15th to get your paperwork in, which is the Form 2553, to indicate you want to be an S Corp for 2021. However, if you already have the entity set up and you want it to be an S Corp effective 1/1/20, yes, you have missed the traditional deadline, but there are 3 different ways that you're able to put in basically what's called a late election to become an S Corporation. So with that being said, just know this, there's 3 ways to go about it. Whoever's helping you with your taxes most likely will know the way because they've become pretty standard. The IRS has pretty much listed in the instructions of Form 2553 that if you've missed the deadline, there are 3 different ways to go about filing it. One of them is to simply file it with the tax return for 2020. Now that's if it's the initial year. So anyways, and then as it relates to the vans, on the EIDL, it is not available for buying assets or using it for major repairs to any kind of an asset, or to be used to refinance a loan or to pay back the owner for any monies that the owner lent to the business. But know this, depending on the funds that are available, know this. So if you get an EIDL you now have money that can cover your overhead, your ongoing expenses, which is what the EIDL is limited to. So if you have money that's covering that, then the money that's coming in from your other, from your revenue source, in essence, you don't have to use that to pay your overhead. And so then those funds you'd be able to use to buy vans. Now, I'm sure that depending on how many you want to buy and all that good stuff, you may still want to finance them, but at the end of the day, the EIDL is really only for the ongoing and the operating funds. You bet. All right, who's next?
This is from Xavier. I got PPP from my business in May. I also do extra work on the side and receive a 1099 from another company, which is on a Schedule C. Would I be able to apply for personal PPP for that 1099?
Okay, so they said they got PPP?
For their business.
Okay,
And
so.
this is a side hustle.
Yeah, so if your business has an EIN and you got PPP for that, then yes, you can get PPP for your sole proprietorship that would either be under a different EIN or your Social Security number. And it would be Schedule C, as you indicated, but it'll be line 31 for 2019, which is the net income.
All right, Joseph, applied for EIDL loan, and the bank is refusing to release the funds until I provide a letter from a CPA stating that I'm self-employed. However, I'm unable to get a letter from a CPA. Any suggestions?
Okay, so the EIDL, interesting. You must have an original EIDL. The EIDL right now is being paid out directly from the SBA. So if you have an EIDL through a bank, so you must have an SBA lender relationship, and you've kind of captured, it sounds like, the EIDL before they streamlined this recently. I'm only getting some context for myself there. The thing to note is that, and I understand the bank, holds all the cards there, but I won't write a letter to that effect for my clients, other than to simply state that they are self-employed. And my point in saying that is that the banks have required these letters to put in their file. So what I would do is, if you have a tax preparer, ask them if they will write the letter that just says, based on my services to this client, I know them to be self-employed based on what I file for this client, which is as a self-employed individual. So if your limitation is the person saying, well, I'm not going to write that letter, see if they'll just write the letter. That all I'm doing when I do that is I'm just putting in writing what I've done for that client on their tax return. Now, if you just don't have anybody at all, then I guess what you're going to tell the bank is that you can self-certify. You could use that word. You'll self-certify under penalties of perjury that you're self-employed. And then if not, know this. If you have an EIDL, it is not specific to that bank. Now, I know you'd have to start all the way over, but you can go to another lender that has an SBA, that's an SBA lender, to go ahead and get the loan through them. So banks are in the business of lending, so I think you'll just have to push back and try and see if you can't solve it a different way. Maybe those suggestions help you. I tell you this right now, I know bankers are there to help, so know this, it's the underwriter that's requiring that. So you need to plead with the person, your banker. They're the ones that get paid based on the loan. They're the ones that get the kudos. Those are the ones that get the toaster. And I'm being funny because I have great friends that are bankers. They're the ones that get the kudos for the loan going through. The underwriter doesn't care who you are. That's their job's not to care who you are. The underwriter's the one that is requiring that. So get the banker that you're dealing with to make the case for you to the underwriter that you don't have the ability to get that letter if those circumstances fit.
Any hope for for Jessica. Any hope for mixed income workers, W-2 and Schedule C, who only qualify for UI, not PUA, through the part-time W-2 job that they still have, so they see no assistance at all?
Well, my understanding is that you should qualify for the PUA. So when you go to apply, now the unfortunate thing is every state is doing it differently, which is just so frustrating. I mean, it's near infuriating that each state has been expected to interpret this federal assistance, the PUA. But my understanding is that with the PUA, the way it was meant was for the person who has the mixed revenue that's coming in, meaning W-2 as well as the self-employed. So with the self-employed part, see if you're able to get the assistance. I also think if you're part-time and have the gig worker, you could qualify for PPP for your Schedule C. So what it requires is a Schedule C that has a line 31 in it that would then allow you to be able to qualify or apply for the PPP. So my point in saying that is that if your 2019 Schedule C is a positive, you should go ahead and also apply for the PPP because for the self-employed, it's an automatic forgiveness in the sense that the forgiveness calculation is the same as the calculation to get the PPP funds.
This is from Chris. I have an influx in clientele who are structured as sole proprietors with no business bank accounts. How would you advise them to go about applying for PPP?
Well, some of the banks have required that, and so if the bank has required it, then go ahead and tell them just to set up a business account, add it basically a DBA account. Some banks won't do it. My understanding is with the bank I'm working with, they're not going to set up a DBA. It's either a personal account or a business account, and if you don't have an FEIN, you can't have a business account. But some banks, it's different. So my point in saying that is that if you have somebody that has a business, has a DBA, then possibly they need to get it set up. But I think you go ahead and qualify. I think you go ahead and have those employees apply. Got sign language. Why don't you just say it?
I was just telling him that he could turn the microwave on, and
Okay.
you didn't even get silverware.
We got dinner going on behind us.
Joseph, my bank won't accept my PPP loan forgiveness because they will send me the application in 2 weeks. We've already talked about that.
Yeah, so just hold tight on that. It's a little frustrating. Banks around here are, but I don't know. I'm surprised that banks in Oklahoma are ahead of other places, but nonetheless.
Brandon, thanks for all the hard work and suggested
Thanks, Brandon.
guidance through all of this. I got a $1,000 EIDL grant and $4,233 PPP, sole proprietor. I haven't spent the money yet. Can I withdraw it all and use it as needed?
Yeah, just withdraw it all on your forgiveness application. The calculation for forgiveness will be the same as the calculation to receive the PPP. So most sole proprietors don't have a separate bank account. They're not expected to have a separate bank account. The IRS doesn't require separate bank accounts. So for those sole proprietors or for those that have a separate bank account or the bank requires you to have a separate bank account, whether you're self-employed, sole proprietor, independent contractor, gig worker, yes, you can just pull the money out. You don't have to pull it out. You don't have to worry about writing a check to yourself because it's just pure automatic forgiveness, assuming the Schedule C line 31 that you're going to hand in the application of forgiveness is the same amount as line 31 Schedule C when you got the loan. The only reason they'd be different is if you used an estimate when you got the loan and now you're having to use the actual, because the SBA guarantee will match that up and verify it with what's reported to the IRS. So with that being said, you can just pull the funds. Was there an EIDL involved with that? Okay, so this is Brandon.
Brandon.
Yeah, so on the 1,000 EIDL, same thing. You can just pull it. um, because there is expected to be no difference. The one thing I'll note to you though is on the EIDL, that is to be used for your business expenses. So cell phone, gas in your car, if you have other expenses that you incur related to your business, the EIDL grant would be able to be used for that. So what is FP? What is FPUC? I'm not sure what FPUC is. Hey. Okay, so Patty B just sent me something. All right, so does the EIDL grant advance affect me with a credit check score, affecting me if I get a grant? So do you mind closing the door? All right, so does the EIDL grants advance affect me with a credit check score, affecting me if I get the grant? So my understanding is that with the SBA, they are doing a check to see if you have any of the federal issues that would cause you not to qualify. I have had I've had clients that haven't qualified for even a loan that were able to qualify for the EIDL. So here's what I'm not 100% on is, does it show up on your credit when you get the grant? I don't think it would. Yes, they're going to do a credit check, but it's more to verify identity, as I understand it, and it's also there to ensure that you don't have, a federal default or something to that effect. But the grant, in my opinion, would not have any effect to your credit at all because it's a grant. Now, on the EIDL, this is all so new, but with the EIDL, that is something that is a loan, so it is going to be, I can't imagine it wouldn't be, it is going to be on your credit in terms of affecting your credit if you don't get the EIDL. I'm not sure about that because it is something that they are, checking your credit on. So I'm not 100% on the credit effect, other than it just seems as though if you got a loan, it's gonna be reflected.
Dan, PPP funded April 8th before the rules. SM LLC. Paid myself same amount every month since biz started. Schedule C, line 31, was drastically lower in 19 versus 18. Any idea how to get full forgiveness?
Well, my understanding is that it won't be able to be qualified with 2018, meaning it just won't be a forgiveness document that can be included. So it will just be based on 19. So when you go to do the application for forgiveness, you might be able to, in those circumstances, take Schedule C, line 31. You can do the 8-week option if you got it before June 5th. On the 8-week option, you would take line 31 divided by 52 times 8, and then you'd be able to include, in addition to that, the rent that you may have, or any interest on business loans, as well as gas in your car. I have a list on jjthecpahelp.com. So that might help you. Now, if you don't have any of those other expenses, I don't know that it will make a difference to you, but I do know that you won't be able to use 2018. You'll have to use 2019, and you're not alone in that. There are a number of people that had those same set of circumstances, and it wasn't until April 14th that the SBA came out and clarified some of those things for the self-employed. But what does seem to be clear from the SBA is that if you did get an amount that you wouldn't otherwise have qualified for, which is meaning just you got an amount that you didn't qualify for, or you got more than you qualified for, then you do just pay it back. You don't have to write a check when you put in your application for forgiveness. You can pay it back over time.
C. Hecky, the EIDL is a 30-year loan. Is there a time limit on the usages? Example, if you used it for operating expenses, but eventually things normalize, could you then use the leftover money anyway?
Well, so first, you can use the funds at any time. There is no time limit, but it wouldn't change what you can use the funds on. So if you're going back to normal, you can do one of two things. You can just pay back what you didn't use because you got to pay it back eventually, because there's no prepayment penalties related to that, or it just is going to sit there and continue to pay off, or not pay off, pay for your ongoing and your operating expenses. And then as your bank account is basically not being used from the revenue that you're bringing in, if there were other things you wanted to do with that, pay profits to yourself, pay off debt, buy assets, you could, because what I'm trying to be real clear on is you would still have the loan that can pay your ongoing operating expenses. So as revenue's coming in and it doesn't have to be used for operating expenses, then that's the amount that you could be using for other purposes, and/or you can just pay it back at any time. But it won't ever change what you can use the money for, regardless of the time that it takes you to spend it.
Connor, hi JJ. When I applied for the PPP, they only asked me for my 1099 and no Schedule C for this calculation. Do I just use that calculation for forgiveness from the 1099? Thank you again for all of your help.
Well, I really appreciate that. And in the initial phases, that was how a lot of the banks were going about it, because it did indicate in the rules that for independent contractors, you could just hand in the 1099s that you receive. So long story short, what's been made clear and more clear by the SBA, and then really tightened down when it comes to the PPP forgiveness application, is that it will be and only going to be that Schedule C line 31. Now, if for whatever reason you got a 1099 and you don't have any expenses, then of course your line 31 would just simply be the income that you brought in. But it is only going to be based on Schedule C line 31, which is the net after all of the deductions. And so one of the things to look at is that, and keep in mind here, and you'd want to hear this very carefully, and when I mean carefully, like hear it clearly, that the IRS does not require you to take expenses. I'm not saying this as a funny, I'm not saying it as a wink wink. The IRS does not require you to take expenses. So what you can run some numbers on, or ask your tax preparer to run numbers on, is if I didn't take any expenses, what would be my tax cost? Because again, the IRS does not require you to take expenses. You may pay rent, you may have all these expenses. You're not required to deduct them. You bet, Greg, thank you. So what you might want to look at, now I think it'd be a rare circumstance that this somehow worked in your favor, but if you were to take your line 31 without any expenses, what is your tax versus what's your line 31 with your expenses? This is on Schedule C. But then do a comparison, because your calculation now for the loan forgiveness would, in your set of circumstances, be based on your gross. So it's just kind of a math problem. Basically, you don't take any expenses. What's your tax difference versus if you did? And then compare that to what's the effect on your forgiveness, because what it's going to come down to is this. If you do the 24-week option, which is as simple as just listing a 24-week period in the covered period on your application, that then elects you for the 24-week period, you take then, for you, if you didn't take any expenses, you'd take your gross, which would be the same as line 31, divided by 12, times 2.5, and you would achieve full forgiveness. So you'd want to compare how much forgiveness are you losing out on compared to if you took the deductions or not. A little bit of a calculation to go through to see if it would work out for you.
Just another reminder to make sure that you are giving this video a thumbs up. And also, if you are here and you are asking JJ a question and he is answering it for you for free, to make sure that you are a subscriber. That is all that we ask, is that you do subscribe to the channel and that you give us a thumbs up. If you want more time with JJ the CPA, instead of just a 2 or a 3 or a 5-minute answer on a live video, you can go to jjthecpa.com and schedule a one-on-one phone call with him.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you.
EIC, what is your thinking regarding malpractice liability insurance for tax CPAs? If one only has mid-class, upper mid-class individuals and small 20-employee business, how much is enough insurance?
So we're talking about a tax preparer getting the malpractice insurance. Yeah, so for sure get some. I think what you'd want to look at is, and I know you know this part, right? We're never responsible for the client's tax. Now they could try and sue us for it, but the government is always going to indicate that the tax is the client's responsibility. What we're potentially liable for would be penalties and interest, if you will. Now, that's just on tax preparation. So we know that there could be other services that we're providing that we could get sued for that don't have anything to do with taxes. So of course, that's where a good engagement letter comes into play. So your client understands you're just providing tax services. So it's going too quick for me to really digest what your clientele consists of. But I would say, if it's for a very small practice, to have at least, 100,000 of liability protection, that would be 100,000 per case. You'd want to have a low deductible, and you'd probably want to choose a service or an insurance company that's going to provide to you free legal services, so to speak, if you get a subpoena, which happens all the time in divorce. So my point in saying that is, what can be more important is to make sure you're with an insurance company that will provide the attorney in the event you get a subpoena. Again, not a subpoena because you did something wrong, a subpoena because your client did something wrong, or your client's in a legal issue, or your client's in the middle of a divorce, and you get subpoenaed, and I don't mean you, I just mean the preparer, you. That can be costly to you, where if they will provide that for free, and the reason the insurance companies want to do that is that it helps you not get any other legal issues, again, not because of your fault, but because of third parties. Now, what I would probably recommend, though, is then to just compare, well, what is the coverage for 100,000 versus 500,000 or $1 million? And I wouldn't necessarily only look at it as, well, the interest that I most likely could be liable for is only $5,000, so I'm only going to get $5,000. I think 100,000 would probably be like a rock bottom minimum. Maybe you look at 500,000. And so real quick, know this, you can be still held responsible for things related to tax based on giving friendly advice on things that you don't do. And the only reason I say that is every 3 years I go through a risk management course put on by the American Institute of CPAs. And there's always a story like the one I'm getting ready to tell you, which is there was a CPA firm in Florida, and the client who was opening a hotel called really quick, asked whoever answered the phone, what's the sales tax rate where I'm located. They looked it up and they provided it to him. Roll forward a number of years. I don't know how many, but it was a lot. Well, that person who answered the phone and gave what they thought was a very innocent answer didn't also tell that customer that there was a tourism tax or whatever other taxes there are in Florida for hotels, hospitality tax. Well, years rolled forward and there was so much back tax that was due. Somehow that client was able to show that They relied on that CPA. That was why they were only collecting what they were collecting, which still seems ridiculous that this went on as long as it did. But anyways, they didn't have enough liability coverage, and it put the accounting firm out of business. So that's a worst case scenario. Point is that they just hardly had any coverage. So if it's not a big difference in price, why not have it? But then again, having good engagement letters and having them signed often, and then not giving friendly advice for what our clients are not engaging us to do. Because that's when we get nipped in the rear, because someone's expecting that we know when we told them anything. So anyways, yeah, get you some coverage on there, and then make sure it's including those services with the attorney.
C. Hecky, who you just answered her question, but she, says, JJ is awesome. This is the right time, right place for this kind of media. Thank you for everything, and I wish you much future success.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope that you are a subscriber. Thank you so much for that.
Isaac, as a software developer, am I allowed to use my EIDL loan to outsource development of a new software package I have been wanting to write for quite a while now, but didn't have the funds, a foreign outsource?
That's going to be a tricky answer, and the only reason I say that is that for operating expenses, that would be ongoing expenses. My understanding is that, or my own interpretation would be that wouldn't be for newly created operating expenses. And I know with the software, then that's right, Rob. Having health insurance means that you can sleep easy at night. Money never sleeps. I love it. I love it. But if you're doing some development, it doesn't seem as though that part for sure would fall under the EIDL, because you're creating a new asset. Congratulations to those prospects there for you. And if the business wasn't in place at the time of the EIDL, then you're creating, in essence, a new business. Now, let me be clear on this. If you're already a software business, if that is what you are, if you're already a software business and you have regular operating expenses, maybe you're just going to have different operating expenses, then I think you'd be okay. And I'm not trying to find a wink way around it. I'm not trying to find a technicality here. I'm just saying that if it's a new line of business, if it's a new asset, I just don't think that the EIDL is meant for that. It's meant for the business that was occurring while the disaster was happening.
Oh, I thought it was right. It's the census.
Oh, okay. We got a census visitor here. So anyways, at the end of the day, if it's something new, it's not really ongoing, then I don't think it qualifies for the EIDL. As I had indicated before, though, if you have other revenue sources coming in and you have other ongoing, well, then those ongoing expenses in the ongoing business that was around when the disasters were happening, it can cover those, and then new monies coming in can be used for these new issues. CJ, how are you? Good to see you.
Okay, our next question is it's from Seth. JJ, I got PPP and EIDL. How did you become so cool?
I appreciate that. I'll give a lot of credit to Omar Abbott Slater. He's my grandfather, my hero, my mentor. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but when I was growing up, I wanted to be like Omar. He was just bigger than life and made people feel good. He seemed to have a lot of friends who, a lot of them were clients. And one of the things that he always told me was make sure that people know you're a CPA within 30 seconds and be different. And so he, wore white shoes, seersucker suit, and seems like people knew who Omar was, and that was what I tried to emulate. So I appreciate that.
Anita, can I apply for the PPP loan although I have received the SBA loan as a real estate broker independent contractor?
They want to get the PPP? Yes, you can. You can definitely get the PPP and get the EIDL. If you got the grant, that'll reduce down the forgiveness. But if you haven't gotten it, then get after it. You only have till August 8th, and it's not August 8th to apply, it's August 8th to get it approved. You can go to jjthecpahelp.com on that first page. I've got the calculations and the application, a couple of videos on how to complete it. But I'll tell you this right now, you better get after it. Don't be sitting around waiting.
Your house is on fire.
Yeah, if truly your house is on fire, okay, then you go get this. And I'll challenge you a little bit. If you wait 2 weeks to get it, then you probably don't need it, and don't get it. Because PPP is for those that need it. You need it, yes, then go apply for it. Prove it to yourself that you need it by applying for it this week.
Flying to sea. Can you apply for PPP or EIDL if you haven't filed your 2019 taxes? Do your Schedule C, line 31, have to be positive to apply for PPP or EIDL? Thanks, you are the best.
No, well, thank you for that. Your taxes don't have to be done. For PPP to result in any dollar amount to you, it has to be a positive because you're taking line 31 divided by 12 times 2.5. And so with that, obviously if you have a loss, it's not going to yield any kind of PPP. For the EIDL, no, you don't have to have any net income. What they ask for is what is your last 12 months of revenue, and then what are your expenses in essence for those 12 months. They call it what are your COGS, your cost of goods sold, but really what my understanding is that they're just wanting to know what are your operating expenses in addition to your cost of goods sold. Point is that you can get the EIDL even if it's a loss. But I'll tell you this, when you're going for the PPP, if you don't have your taxes done, the one thing to note though is that whatever you're putting in for line 31 needs to be what it's going to be, because your forgiveness will be based on the same amount. So at the end of the day, if you need the help, you need to get after it, because with the EIDL, the grant no longer is available as of the prior Saturday. So they're no longer giving out the grant. They did indicate that there is EIDL available. They've limited the amount that they're giving out to each recipient. So know this, and I challenge it. I don't know how long you've been watching my videos, but I do challenge those, whether it makes somebody angry or not, doesn't really, I don't care. Because here's what I'm telling you, if you need the help, then go get it. Because, and I'm saying this as an encouragement to you, that if you keep him-hawing around, then you don't really need the help, and you're just looking for ways to get some extra dollars. And I don't mean that out of any disrespect. What I mean that is a way to encourage you that if you need the help, to go and get it. Go get it. Because right now you are super late in the game. And that may be just because it's now that it's starting to affect you. But what I'm telling you is if you keep standing around and you don't apply for it, it could run out. And again, on August 8th, that is when you have to have it approved by, not just apply by. So if you need it, go get it. And Amanda, am I right? I say in my video over and over and over and over and over, if you just ask another question and another question and you're kicking a tire and maybe, then you don't really need the help. So don't go get it, because it really is meant for those that need the help. Okay, so that's been a message of mine from day one. It's not just how do I go get the free money, it's I need help. So Leah, Glenda's granddaughter, nailed it. So do you have that video? We'll see if we can play the video on our live here. We got more visitors?
We do. Miss Radcliffe
What's up, Reichley?
Not much, just coming to see Shane.
All right, so we have, this is Leah, and do we have the sound on? And it's
sound
up?
should be all the way
It's
up.
up? Okay, is it clear?
Yep.
All right, Leah, you are a movie star. You did so awesome. So this is Leah because I equate getting PPP or EIDL to whether or not your house is really on fire.
I have it all.
Okay, now we'll,
That was the teaser.
let's see.
People, when your house is on fire, are you just gonna sit around wondering what hose to use? No! Go put the fire out. Go get your PPP and your EIDL. Now!
Yay!
Isn't that perfect? So Leah has it nailed down because what I tell everybody is if your house is on fire, you don't circle it and go talk to your neighbors and figure out if you can use the hose in the backyard and should you use it in the side and maybe your hose isn't big enough and maybe you should run up to the corner store and does Walmart have a better hose? If your house is on fire, then you go and get the help. So go get it. And if your taxes aren't done, get them done because you want to make sure that you're getting a good number. If your taxes aren't done because you don't have time, okay, but know this, your forgiveness will be determined on what your tax picture looks like.
Brian, hi JJ. If I filed a form for my LLC to become an S corp, will I be able to file my taxes as an S corp for 2020? I'm guessing no, but is there a late file option? Business was established in January of 19.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, technically, if I had clients that for whatever reason set up a business, and yes, thank you, Glenda. Thank you so much. That is like such a treat. Totally awesome. We have showed clients and friends, well, the few that I've seen because of COVID, but nonetheless. You can get, in my opinion, one of the late elections that could make it effective 1/1/19. You definitely can get one effective 1/1/20. So what I would say is go to the instructions of the Form 2553 or check with your tax preparer. If your tax preparer says that, oh, it's too late and it's not possible, then I would question whether or not you should use that tax preparer. You need to work with somebody that would know how to look at the instructions and file the forms that are needed with it. And in 27 years, I would be able to 100% of the time be able to get somebody to be an S corp all the way back to 1/1/19, assuming that the business was in place back then and they hadn't already filed a different type of entity for 19. Now, if that was you, if you already filed your taxes for 19, no biggie. You're stuck with what you filed, but effective 1/1/19. So I look at those instructions because you can put it in now. You can also put in the Form 2553 with your tax return that you file for 2020 with the late election. But what I would recommend is do it now. Put in the late election now because it's just an easier one. It'll probably require less correspondence with the IRS. So get your Form 2553 submitted, and then all it is that when you look at the instructions, you put the revenue ruling that you're relying on written across the top of Form 2553, and then you just put an explanation, which they lay out for you, but you put an explanation in there on why you're filing it late. And really, it's just with everything that's going on, I didn't have time to file my 2553, so I'm filing it now. You don't have to give a bunch of other reasons than the ones that I just indicated there. So,
wanted to let everyone know we're going to answer a couple of more, but this is JJ the CPA's. He's still post-tax season, and he's still recouping from that.
Thanks, Fred.
But if you have not got your question answered and you really want to talk to JJ, you can schedule a phone call with him at jjthecpa.com. The spots are filling up quickly. So if you really do want to visit with him on the phone or a Zoom call, please get over there and get your appointment scheduled. We've had 3 more scheduled just in this 90 or 84 minutes that we've been here. So
Awesome.
they are filling
Thank
up.
you. Thank you.
Also, but we will answer a couple more questions, but then we're going to start wrapping it up because he needs to rest.
I appreciate that. Gene says to check an email about Texas PUA ending, and then only because I can answer it really quick. Stacy Fuller, no, Eidl won't have any effect to the S Corp.
And Fred Lowe.
Hey, Fred.
Client is still employed by company, was on short-term disability, now on family unpaid leave. Can she possibly qualify for FPUA?
Well, I guess I don't know this term FPUA. It's
Federal
like
public, is the
oh,
federal.
oh, okay. I was going to guess that, but the short answer is yes. So if they were working, and I understand what the facts and circumstances that you just gave, they should. Now, every state has different qualifications or different aspects, but from the standpoint of who qualifies for PUA, it seems as though they would qualify. So Gene's telling us to check something about the Texas PUA. So I don't know if there's Texas PUA and federal PUA, because I'm sure that there could be differences from state to state on that. Let's see, called my state about PPP and how it impacts PUA. No callback, what should I do? Yeah, Brandon, you'll probably just need to wait. I really am disappointed in the government. I'm just kind of a big blanket statement there for not making it clear how PPP and PUA affect each other. So I've got a playlist that is about unemployment. Got a couple of videos in there, PUA and PPP. So I would say grab one of those videos. There's probably also one in JJ's FAQs, because not anything to really answer quickly. You'll need to watch those videos, kind of go through the rationale of how you get PPP and PUA, and how you would kind of go about that. But good job checking the state, because most people don't even try that. So I would just say this though, in the short term, if you need the assistance, get it. Apply and answer all the questions and get the assistance.
All right, this is our last question. It's from S. Phillips, who is a longtime subscriber and listener.
Thank you.
Will 5G towers affect my 10 hats effectiveness?
Will 5G towers
affect my 10 hats effectiveness? I figured that one would be one that you would want to end on.
I'm going to say no. Yeah, I'm going to say no on that one. All right, Frank Lowe, I appreciate that. And Stacy and Jean, let's see, we talked about that. Stefano, California governor shut down my beauty business again. Dang it. Do you think SBA, they could use remaining funds of PPP round 1 for a new round of PPP for businesses that already got first PPP? So yeah, I think I hear what you're saying, which is, can you get more PPP? Not yet. If that's not what you're saying, then yes, buckle up, get ready, stay tuned to my channel, because the next round of funding that should come out, I think, would definitely be to help businesses just like you. So I would tell you this. Let's see, there was a video I did last week. It's called California Closing Again. I think if you haven't watched that video, take a quick look at it. Tax season got in front of me and plowed me over, and so I didn't do the follow-up video to that, but watch the first one in terms of what you can do right now. So move carefully, figure out what you got to pay and don't have to pay, sort things out. And I'm sorry that you're in those circumstances, but the key here is you've been in business. I don't know how long you've been in business, but it's been long enough that you know you need to survive it because you are a survivor. And what it'll come down to is knowing your numbers. And what I mean by that is knowing the numbers of what your obligations are, what money's coming in, figuring out what hard decisions you're going to have to make, and start making them right now before you're pressed by a third party to make decisions to stay in control. And if you're the salon owner, I think in California, depending on how your techs or your stylists, how they're paid, be helping them to get their PUA. And the reason I say that is that you need to preserve as much money as possible for yourself and for your business. So whatever assistance is out there for those that are working for you, get that assistance for them so that you're not using your funds for that, so that you will survive this. And you will. There's no way you won't, because your business is more than your location. Your business is more than the signage out front. Your business is you, and you will survive this. And if there is another round of PPP, I hope that it will be more than just covering payroll. It needs to be able to cover other expenses, especially for businesses like you. So, all right. So, Tony, thank you. And we got John. I'm a sole proprietor. When I applied for PPP, I put down 1 employee. I know now that I should have put 0. Wondering if I'll run into trouble. Absolutely not. The SBA actually, I think, basically made it clear that when you file for forgiveness, put down what it actually was. It's a 0, and then it's a 0 because you are self-employed. All right, hey, you bet, Stefano and CJ, thank you so much. We'll see you on Friday. I will be in Joplin, Missouri. I don't know if Amanda will be there with me. She's going to come and see Cooper pitch, but I don't know if he's pitching Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Nonetheless, I'll be going live. The last time we did that, I was in Kansas City, and Amanda was on another phone. I was on this phone. I had a laptop going over here, and we still went and did the live. So, all right. Hey, thank you so much, MC Big Swig. Thank you for that. And Patty B, you have a great evening as well. Thank you so much. And Charlotte, thank you for being the first one that came into our hiring JJ, the CPA, for 12 weeks. I'm looking forward to doing our one-on-one together, and then you being a part of this group. And then for any of you that are interested in doing what I do with my clients in 12 months, but we do it over 12 weeks, go to jjthecpa.com. Amanda, are we going to have a reality show? I know we had no choice. We just didn't have one for Thursday. Will we have one this Thursday?
I don't know. So you guys stay tuned and see if one is released.
Stay tuned. I'm going to say yes.
Yes, we will have one.
Yeah, we're coming up with maybe a little different format. Amanda's been spending 4 to 6 hours on it, and which we don't mind. But we feel like maybe that the format that we're doing now, we're maybe getting 1,000 to 1,200 views. Not that everything is about the views, but views also help us know, is the content basically catching interest. So anyways, point is, there's a little bit of an unknown because Amanda and I haven't decided what the new format's going to be, but we're going to try and do something that at least requires a little less post-production. I look forward to seeing the email. Gene, thank you for sending that. We'll see you all Friday. Thank you so much. Road Lion.
Thank you for getting the mug. You'll have to send us a picture.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. It means so much. All right, Son and Tony and Mike and Stefano and Patty B. And let's see.
CJ, thank you for coming on, and Visionary Vanguard and Glenda and Miss Leah. Always thank you guys for coming on.
Let's see. So we got a question here. Peace, JJ. Thanks for your time and knowledge. Do you think ITINers will be included in the next stimulus package? You know, you should, but I don't know. I think that if you're contributing, right, and you're a business owner and you're a part of what's going on, it seems as though you should. So let's hope for that. All right, let's see. With flying colors, appreciate you again so much. Let's see. Brian says, doing books for a CA e-com business. Owner insists to keep Nevada business instead of forming in California. You know, I have clients that are in Nevada, but if they're doing business in another state, you know, in California, they're then a foreign corporation, which I think costs them more in terms of filing fees. And so I would tell them they can continue to be a Nevada business, but they still have to file in California. You still have to register in California. If they won't do that, please fire that client, because you know as well as I do, California does not mess around when it comes to their taxes. And you're gonna go down with them, and you will be the one that's gonna get in trouble or sued by your client. I don't mean to be doom and gloom. I've just been doing it for 28 years. So if they're not gonna register in California, they're not gonna file in California because you have somebody that thinks they are a Nevada business. Well, they're a Nevada business doing business in California. One way or another, they gotta be complying and filing and registering in California. If they're not, it's not worth it. Just look at it like this. You've advised somebody, they're now a criminal, because that's how California sees it. We can all laugh and say, oh, they're not really a criminal. California would see them as a criminal. So don't do books for a criminal. All right, hey, thanks, Brandon. And Karen, what's going on? Good to see you. And Glenda and S. Phillips, thank you so much. And Visionary Vanguard, really appreciate that. And Fred and Stacy and Jean.
And Mick Big Swig, thank you. To props to Amanda. I never a great man. Really appreciate that.
And thank you, Glenda. Thank you, Leah. Really appreciate you all. Brian, thank you so much. JK, XIO, I think it is. It just popped to the bottom. Tony, I appreciate you. Brian. All right, everybody. Lachey, thank you so much.
Flying to see Marissa, Brian, Rob. Really, really appreciate all
Yes,
of you guys.
yeah. Card Shop Reality. I don't know that ended up popping on, so must have been busy. But hey, thank you everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate you. Appreciate the thumbs up. Thank you for the subscription. And we will see you Friday. More videos to come out between now and then. And you all have a great night. All right.
Bye, guys.
We'll appreciate you. All right. Thanks, Marissa.